Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am very excited that you're here today because in today's video I am starting a brand new series called Grays and Get Ready With Me, where I'm going to sit down each week, do my makeup, and walk you through an entire episode of Grey's Anatomy as told by me. Because who doesn't want a random girl on the internet telling you about a TV program you could just go and watch yourself? Right? If that sounds like fun, if you want to see how I created this look, if you just like sitting down and playing with makeup, pull out your makeup along with me. Let's get to playing. And I do want to apologize for the audio in the beginning of the storytelling because I forgot to turn on my microphone. So this is now the second or third time I'm filming this intro as well. I had a lot of fun sitting down and making this video for you. If you liked it, please leave me a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, and this is your thing, you might want to consider subscribing. I think I'm going to be doing more of these. I'm so happy you're here. Let's get right into the story. In today's video, we are going to be starting at season 1, episode 1, from the very beginning. Flashback to 2005. People were still wearing bell-bottom jeans. The iPod had just come out. A young Catherine McGregor still had braces. The world was a different place. Season 1, episode 1, episode title, A Hard Day's Night. The episode opens. The game. They say a person either has what it takes to play or they don't, says a woman's voice over the image of a surgeon's hands all up in a body cavity, really letting us viewers know that these are super cutthroat, hardcore, cool players who can play the game. These are some serious bitches. The scene opens on our protagonist, Meredith Grey, laying on the couch, primetime TV acceptable levels of suggested nakedness, and with a strange but clearly gorgeous head of hair laying on the floor next to the couch with nay but a pillow covering his rear. Oh boy, even for 2005, hot diggity dog. Meredith, being the independent, damaged, and honestly kind of rude person that she is, immediately kicks Derek, our spoiler alert, romantic male lead, out of the house. She's like, get up, get out, I got shit to do. She's gonna go upstairs and take a shower, and when she gets back, his ass better be out on the street. We follow our protagonist on her first day at the hospital, and everyone's in an empty OR. So there's a ton of people and they're just wandering around the OR. All the surgical interns are wandering around the OR aimlessly like their kids lost at Disneyland. They're just wandering around ooh, ah, tile walls. They're wandering around this OR aimlessly, just kind of staring into space while dad boss, Richard Weber, immediately makes sure that all the interns know that this is war and they are not to become friends. Hello, guys? Cutthroat. Mano y mano. Only the best survive. This is the game, and in order to survive it, they need to play. Right? So we're hailing back to our opening, right? So let's talk about the other interns. We've already met Meredith, but obviously there's more people to talk about that are involved with this story. Let's meet Christina. Christina is probably my favorite character. I freaking love this girl. She's so badass. She has her master's from Stanford and she's got her PhD from Berkeley. She's kind of a cutthroat biatch. People said biatch in 2005, don't judge me. And she's obsessed with being the absolute best at everything. She's a career gal, she doesn't suffer fools, and she knows that she's smarter than you. She knows it. Let's meet Izzy, who is a former model turned doctor and surgical intern. She's blonde, she's sunshiny, she's positive, she's super extroverted, and she loves people with her whole heart. She also believes that she can fix everyone, which is probably why she became a doctor. And she's definitely the type that could probably, maybe, definitely could fall in love with one of her patients. George is our next character, and George is a shy, awkward, very sweet guy. He's got a huge crush on Meredith, and George is pretty much always friend-zoned. He's a little overlooked at times, but he's got a heart of gold, and he works really, really hard. George is honestly probably the best person in the entire bunch, and they don't really treat him very well in the beginning. He's kind of just shoved off to the side, but don't worry about George. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. Next up, let's talk about Alex. So Alex Karev, he is a diamond in the rough. Emphasis on the rough. Yeah, for sure. Especially in these earlier episodes, he is really rough around the edges. He's a jock, and honestly, he's kind of an asshole, and he doesn't really make friends easily. Everyone kind of hates him, and it's kind of sad because he's clearly just someone who is super sensitive, trying to cover up his own insecurities, and honestly how sensitive and vulnerable he is. He's got a ton of swagger on the surface, which basically distracts from how broken he is. And can you tell that he's my type? Yeah, he's absolutely my type. Cut to the locker room with all of our new interns, and we see Meredith meeting Christina and George for the first time, and they're all assigned to the same resident. So in Grey's Anatomy world, for those of us who are not in the medical profession, it's like interns and then residents and then attendings. So that's like the chain of command. And so Meredith, Christina, and George are all assigned to the same resident, and it turns out Izzy is too. And their resident is known as the Nazi, which, like, boy oh boy, I don't think that in today's world that would have gotten past the ABC executives. The Nazi is one Miranda Bailey. She's fiery, she's smart, she's got her entire 5-foot frame packed with bad bitch energy. She is that bitch. She does not suffer fools, she does not put up with bullshit. They're all surprised. Oh, this tiny lady, this 5-foot package, this really nice looking person. This is the Nazi? Yeah, girl. Bailey only has 5 rules. Memorize them. Rule number 1. Don't bother sucking up. She already hates you. That's not gonna change. Nurses will page you and you answer at a run. A run. That's rule 2. Rule number 3. If she's sleeping, don't wake her unless your patient is actually dying. Rule number 4. The dying patient better not be dead when she gets there. Not only will you have killed someone, you would have woken her up for no reason. And 5. When she moves, you move. So Miranda is like laying down the law for her new interns. She's giving them the right act. She's like, hey, I'm the bad bitch in charge. This is what you need to do. Do what I say, you're gonna be okay. All right, that's kind of her deal. And that's when her pager goes off and she leads them up to the roof. Very dramatic. There's like a helicopter coming in, super exciting. All the interns are like, what? What's going on? What's going on here? I don't understand. Well, they're all heading up to the roof because they're about to receive a patient named Katey Bryce. It's a great name, right? So Katey Bryce is this like 16-year-old beauty pageant queen, totally snobby and like really annoying, but definitely having a bunch of seizures. So because she's having a seizure, our main character Meredith is assigned to take her for a CT. Izzy, played by the rom-com queen herself, Katherine Heigl, is hilariously assigned to rectal exams. Yeah, that's right. She's assigned to exams, plural, which I have a lot of questions, honestly. Like, in what universe are there just, like, multiple rectal exams floating around the hospital waiting to be done? Like, that's going to take up her entire afternoon. Like, she's just got to stick her fingers up some buttholes and check them out. Like, are they scheduling them all for the same day on purpose? Do people just wait around for, like, weeks and weeks with, like, broken butts? And they're just waiting for an intern to screw up so that they can get punished with rectal exams. This seems like a really weird hazing and seems illogical, and I have just like a lot of questions, but regardless, of course, the perky, blonde Katherine Heigl is assigned to rectal exams, and we are all supposed to go, ha ha ha, that's so hilarious, look at her. And I'm just like, this doesn't make sense, but like, you're gonna have a surgical intern that you're paying that is there to learn how to do surgery, and you're just gonna be like, you know what? Let's go do this. Let's over and over. Just like, that's your day. Like, I don't know. That just seems so ridiculous. Back with our dear friend Meredith. She is lost. She is really trying her best to find the CT machine. Our patient has stopped seizing and is wide awake and is blabbering on and on about how she's missing her pageant. She's leaving all sorts of clues about her health, and she's talking about how she twisted her ankle doing ribbon dancing, and I don't know, seems kind of fishy to me. typically in shows like this, they don't mention having some sort of ailment without it, you know, like mattering later on. So let's bookmark that one for later on. The interns later go to lunch, and we learn that Meredith is actually inbred. That's what they call it. They say she's inbred, which means that her mother is this like crazy, super talented, famous surgeon that won all these awards. And so they're all recognizing like, oh, there's like surgical royalty among us. So they're all sitting there talking about Meredith when all of a sudden she flops down and, you know, she like clearly doesn't understand that they were all just talking about her. Pops off about Katie Bryce, and she's like, if I hadn't taken the Hippocratic Oath, I'd Kevorkian her with my bare hands. Okay, so I'm pretty sure you're like taking some risks there, buddy. Like if she actually dies, like you're not only creating a legal precedent and a legal case for why people should blame you, but like that has to be some sort of like HR or doctor violation, right? Maybe I'm just being too sensitive, but I'm like, girl, you said that really loud. Maybe you should be more careful. Hilarious. They're all sitting there having lunch, chit-chatting away. And that's when Dr. Burke walks up and tells everyone that he gets to decide which of them gets their first solo surgery. This is what everyone has been waiting for. They're all super pumped, and everyone at the table is like, ooh, who's it gonna be? Christina has been like talking the whole episode about how she's the best, and she's like, obviously it's gonna be me. And then Dr. Burke, surprisingly, chooses George. So Dr. Burke chooses George, which is kind of surprising for everyone because George is not exactly like the rock star of the group, but he made a good impression on Dr. Burke, I guess. And he was like, that's my guy. I'm going to pick him and I'm going to give him this amazing opportunity. And by the way, I should mention, these guys are on like a 48-hour shift. So this all happens over the course of their first 2 days as surgical interns. There's like a lot of stuff that happens that just gets packed into that 48 hours. After their lunch, Katie Bryce, who's our patient, her parents show up and they have a lot of questions about their daughter. And they're like, what's going on? Where is she? What's wrong with her? You know, like typical parent shit. And Meredith is like, I don't know. Let me go get the doctor. She's like, I'm a doctor, but I'm not her doctor. She's like, I don't know shit. This is my first day. Like, don't put me on the spot. And she kind of like freezes and she goes to find Bailey. So Meredith goes and finds Dr. Bailey and she's like, hey, I need your help. They have a lot of questions. I don't know what I'm doing. And Miranda's like, oh, actually, this is totally not my problem anymore. You need to go talk to the new neuro attending. So like neuro is like mind shit. It's like brain, he's a brain doctor. And so Meredith goes to find the neurosurgeon and yep, you guessed it. Head of hair is back, y'all. Dr. Derek Shepherd. Enter. He's all dreamy and gooey and gushy and he's all like so sparkly and excited to see Meredith. He's like, holy shit, I saw that girl naked this morning. What is she doing here? I had no idea. Which like, I mean, did they not talk at all the night before about what they did for a living? Or, I don't know, did they just not talk at all? Like, seriously, this didn't come up? But anyway, he is like so excited to see her and she is like, no, get out of my way. I'm a professional. Leave me alone. Like, let's just work together and stop asking me out on a date. And he's like, take advantage of me. Derek is like hitting on her and she's like, leave me alone. I just want to do my job. I don't really want to see you again or talk to you. I thought I made myself clear. Like, let's just keep this professional. And so she storms out and leaves all of that dreaminess and gorgeousness in the stairwell being like, isn't it charming how much she doesn't want me? Like, I know like there's more that happens to them, but like it's like this moment where I'm just like, oh my god, the HR violations. Like, you just find out that this guy is gonna be your boss and you're trying to be professional, and this guy is like kind of trying to pressure her into going on a date, and there's definitely a dynamic of power, and holy moly, the HR violations in this show. Seriously, I don't know how any of them still have jobs. Okay, they still have jobs because it's not real. It's a TV show. I get it. Later that afternoon, we see all of the interns gathering in the OR gallery, and we are going to watch George's very first solo surgery. So this is like kind of a big deal. And they're all taking bets on whether or not he's actually going to be able to pull it off, which, if you think about it, with there being, you know, someone's health in the balance is kind of messed up, but, you know, to them, it's all about the game. It's all about the sport, and it's all about the competition and being the best. And, you know, with George kind of being the underdog in a lot of ways, you know, it kind of makes sense that they would be almost like rooting against him, but I mean, not rooting against like a good outcome, I'm pretty sure. Right? George is doing really, really well. So he just ignores all of these people that are watching him in the gallery, and he goes down and he is doing exceptionally well. He's crushing it. He's sounding like a super professional guy, super professional surgeon. And he's all like scalpel, forceps, pickups, you know, he's throwing out all these terms and he's like crushing it and doing exactly what he needs to do. Until he snips the cecum. Then all hell breaks loose and the patient is bleeding out, and you know the inside is like filling with stool, which is like super gross and totally not sanitary. And basically, like, if you get like poo inside your body where it's not supposed to be, I guess it's, I mean, obviously it's pretty dangerous. Dr. Burke is like freaking out and he's yelling at him and he's like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? And George is like, and he freezes. Dr. Burke is like, get out of the way, pansy ass, get out of here. And I'm like, whoa, again with the HR violation. Seriously, you can't just go calling your employees pansy asses. Like, super, super rude. And there's also part of me that, like, side note, wonders if that was actually written into the script, because as we know, later on in the series, the actor that plays Burke, Isaiah Washington, was like really homophobic towards TR Knight, who plays George. And I just wonder, like, pansy ass is kind of, I don't know, a very specific insult. And I just wonder if that was actually written into the script or not, or if that was Isaiah Washington, like, I don't know, building on his own biases. I don't really know. But I was watching that and Jeremy walked into the room and he was like, oh, you cannot say that to your employees. And I was like, I know. He's like, I'm pretty sure you can't say that to anyone. I was like, yeah, you shouldn't walk around calling people pansy ass. Like, that's pretty wrong. And then, so from the gallery, all of his friends are like, they're all kind of sobered up and realizes that, you know, like, hey, that's one of them and any of them could have made that same mistake. And Alex Karev, being the, like, sweet soul that he is, Alex Karev is like, haha, 007. Alex Karev gives George the nickname 007 and laughs to himself. And Meredith is like, what does that mean? And Christina says, oh, license to kill. So it's this, like, really insulting moniker for someone that, you know, could kill people in the surgical world. So they've nicknamed George 007, which is really just like kind of heartbreaking and also kind of like obviously super inappropriate, especially for people in the medical profession. But I mean, that's TV, baby. So after the surgery, Mary gets a page to Katie Bryce's room, 911. And remember our rules, rule number 3, when you get a page, you run, you don't walk. You gotta get there pronto. And Meredith enters Katie's room and she's like totally fine, which is super annoying. Katie has clearly like faked something and even admits to faking something because she's bored and she wants Meredith to come in and find the channel of her beauty pageant so that she can watch it. And she's just basically being like a super brat, and Meredith's like, holy camole, girl, I've been up for like 36 hours at this point. You need to get all the way off of my back about this. I'm tired. Like, I'm not your cruise director. You need to fucking chill. And she tells Katie Bryce to go to sleep, and Katie Bryce is like, I can't, my head is too full. And Meredith is like, that's called thinking, go with it. Which, like, I mean, that's pretty funny, but still, it's like not exactly, probably not good, like, bedside manner, you know what I mean? I think my eyebrows are just not cooperating today. What the fuck? So later in the evening, Meredith meets Alex for the first time. They actually have not met yet. And he is being like just his normal charming self. Let me tell you, he hates nurses, which he thinks is a hilarious thing to just walk around and say to people. And Mara overhears him definitely probably misdiagnosing someone, and she calls him out. She's like, hey, you think that this person has, you know, like a cold or whatever, they might have pneumonia or they might have some other problem. So, you know, you should probably like be careful and check these things out. And Alex has like a huge ego, and like I said, he's kind of a jerk. He's diamond in the rough type of guy, and he's like, whatever, like I said, I hate nurses. And so he's throwing this out like it's an insult to call someone a nurse, which I guess if you're a doctor and you've gone through 10 years of school and someone calls you a nurse, I guess I can see how that would be pretty upsetting. But at the same time, like, this is 2005, not 2020 or 2021. Like, that shit would not fly today. You do not insult nurses and healthcare workers. But it was definitely clearly a different time. Mara calls him out and is like, did you call me a nurse? Like, what the fuck? That's so messed up. That's so rude. And then she's called to Katie Bryce's room again. She is like not in the mood to go as quickly. She's not following rule number 3, and she's like taking her time. And then when she finally gets to Katie Bryce's room, Katie Bryce is having a grand mal seizure. She's actually like kind of fucked up and things are happening, and everyone in the room is like, where have you been? You're her doctor. Like, you should have been here. Why are you so slow? Meredith is absolutely out of her depth. Meredith is like freaking out. She doesn't know what to do. She's like totally melting down, and everyone's like, Meredith, what do we do? You're her doctor. What do we do? And I'm like, you guys all know it's her first day, right? Like, chill out. Seriously, she's not gonna know what to do, but I mean, I get it. She's a doctor. Hold her accountable, I guess. And so Meredith like stands there and she's totally frozen, and finally she gets her shit together in just enough time to take those like paddle shocker thingies, and she like boom, shocks Katie Bryce back to life. And Derek then walks in and he's like, where were you? You should have been watching her. Get out of here. And he like kind of freaks out on her. And so Meredith is very quickly learning her lesson that like she's does not know what she's doing, and she runs out of the hospital. Christina follows her outside, and Meredith immediately vomits. She's like throws up by a tree, and Christina's like making sure she's okay. And Meredith thanks her by threatening her and not making eye contact. She just kind of like walks by her and she's like, if you tell anyone, which like, wow, so kind. The beginning of a beautiful friendship. That's what you want friendship to be. Basically threatening each other to not tell each other secrets until the day you die. Like, that's what friendship is, right? It's now been a full 24 hours and the interns are like completely exhausted. We see them just trying to like get some shut eye. They're sitting in the basement together, and all of a sudden they get paged, and Derek has called them all for a meeting. And they're like, we're so tired, please. We can't take any more meetings. Christina is sitting in the corner. She's doing like stitches on a banana, which I guess is supposed to mimic like human skin or something, which I guess is kind of badass in its own very creepy way. And so Derek starts his meeting and he starts giving his speech, and he's being all charming and super cute. And he's like, exasperated, and he's like, I just don't know what's wrong with this girl. So maybe you guys with like no experience and no knowledge can help me figure this out. And all the interns are like, sure, Dad, like we can do it. And so Derek dangles the carrot, and he sets a game for the interns. Figure out what's wrong with Katie Bryce, and whoever figures it out and has the best answers gets to scrub in on this ultra cool surgery. Which I'm like, if you don't even know what the problem is and you don't know what's going on, how do you even know that it's surgical? Like, seriously, you're promising things that you just can't fulfill, and I feel like this is a plot hole. But, you know, like, who's asking me? This is an episode of TV from like 16 years ago, so I guess it probably doesn't matter. But like, cool, like, let's fucking go. Let's do this. And all the interns have their contest. So Christina and Meredith pair up because they figure they have the best opportunity to win if they pair up and they work together. And that works really great because Meredith is like, hell no, I am not scrubbing in that surgery. You can have it. I don't want to be around him. I need to avoid this guy at all costs, which, hello, that's why you have HR policies. That's why you're not supposed to date your subordinates, is because it sets up these like really weird situations where all of a sudden people are like missing out on opportunities because, you know, of like your fuckery. So Christina is like, cool, that works for me. I'm not going to ask questions. Like, you don't want this opportunity? Like, great. I am happy to take it off your hands. Not a problem. Our favorite pair of friends hit the books, and thus begins one of the most beautiful female friendships in the history of television. While they're studying together and going through all these different textbooks, Meredith tells Christina her dirty, deep, dark secret that she actually slept with Derek the night before, and she didn't know who he was, but, you know, it happened, and Christina's totally chill about it, and she's like, all right, cool, I get it. Like, let's get to work. Let's figure this out so that I can be like a bad bitch and win this contest. Because really all Christina cares about is just cutting people open and learning and being the best. So Christina's like, you know what? I don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter to me. Do your thing. Which honestly is super supportive and really nice of her. So as they're sitting there, they're telling secrets, they're becoming friends, it's super great. All of a sudden, Meredith has this like moment and she's like, oh my God, it's the ribbon dancing. Katie Bryce told me that she hit her head during practice. Like, she tripped and she fell over her ribbons and she hit her head. What if that's, you know, the reason that she's like conked out in the head and she's having all these seizures? And Christina seems to agree, so they run to go tell Derek, hey, we think we figured this out. Christina and Mare go and find Derek, and he's getting into an elevator. And they have this really annoying interaction where, like, Derek is standing in the elevator, and they're, like, trying to keep the elevator door from closing, and it keeps, like, almost closing and opening and closing and opening while they're telling him their theory, like, hey, we think that she, you know, had this problem, she hit her head, there's an aneurysm, and he's like, hello, there's no sign of an aneurysm. We scanned her brain. And they're like, scan it again. And he's like, fine. And he gets off the elevator and they go check, and damn it if they aren't right. Teeny tiny aneurysm indeed, which like is something that no one would have ever been able to find. And boy, oh boy, doesn't that make Meredith and Christina just the most amazing doctors anyone has ever heard of. So Derek awards his prize, and unfortunately, Derek uses this opportunity to think with his penis, and he chooses Meredith to join the surgery. And Christina is pissed because Derek chooses Meredith, and Meredith just kind of like stands there. Like, she doesn't even really do anything. She's just kind of like, and Christina like looks at her and she's like, hello, Meredith, you told me I could have this surgery. Why aren't you saying anything? Why aren't you giving it to me? And honestly, I kind of get why Christina was so pissed. Meredith didn't say anything. She didn't argue. She didn't stand up for Christina. She didn't hold up her end of the bargain. And Christina was like rightfully pissed. Totally rightfully pissed. It's super rude. The more I've watched this show, the more I realize that Meredith is kind of just generally rude, and she doesn't stick up for herself at all. She basically is like, well, the guy said I had to do it, so I guess I have to do it now. I don't know. And Christina's pissed, and Meredith follows her to try to get her to like stop being mad at her. Meredith's like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to say? I'll go talk to him. And Christina's like, you should have talked to him in that moment. What the hell? And Christina like goes below the belt, and she's like, I didn't get into med school because my mother is famous, and I don't get surgeries because I slept with my boss. Izzy is sitting next to Christina, and Izzy's like, what? You slept with who? Good job, Christina, on totally betraying the trust that was putting you. But I totally get it because Meredith definitely betrayed you first. Meredith goes to Derek, and she tries to get him to give the surgery to Christina. Like, she does have this redeeming moment, and she does clearly feel bad about it. And Derek is like, you've been on Katie Bryce's case since the beginning. You know it better than anybody. I know you're the one that figured this out. Don't let the fact that we had sex hold you back from a great opportunity. Which, like, I guess is kind of sweet. It's a nice moment, but at the same time, I'm like, you probably should be a little bit more concerned about professionalism, my guy. Seriously, you're taking some bold risks with how you are talking to this person. Oh my goodness. So Meredith is like, all right, dude, fine, I'll do the surgery, but I'm not happy about it. Also, please stop talking to me about the fact that we had sex. Seriously. I can't cut the crease on camera, so I'm gonna like cut it and then come back. So our friend Meredith has decided after this conversation with Derek that she is, after all, going to take the surgery, and she feels good about it and doesn't feel guilty at all about screwing over Christina, but whatever. So Meredith is waiting for her surgery with Derek and is down in the pit, which is, I think it's the ER. I don't know. I'm never quite clear, but I'm pretty sure that means the ER. And Alex is back down there with that same patient from earlier, and he is getting screamed at. He's getting ripped a new asshole by daddy boss Richard Weber, and he's like, hello, what's wrong with you? You should have been checking on these things with this patient. What's wrong with her? What do you do in this situation? And Alex is like, I don't know. Luckily, Meredith just happens to be around, and she gives a magical answer and is like, I'm the best doctor. I know everything. Look at me. I'm solving cases left and right. And I also know how to solve this person's problems. And look at me showing up Alex Karev. And, she's just kind of like, hey guys, I'm a badass. Look at me. And Daddy Boss walks over, and he's like, I'd know you anywhere. You are the spitting image of your mother. Which, like, oh, what a compliment. I think I messed this up. This does not look how I thought it was going to look. So, because Meredith is able to solve it, Alex is off the case, and he's all pissed off because this girl totally showed him up, and he's like, this hurt my feelings. I'm sad. And he like walks out and is totally upset. How am I gonna fix this eye look? This does not look anything like I wanted it to. So Meredith is just clocking wins on this day, left and right. She is winning that game as far as anyone else is concerned. She's just crushing it. So we're now in the OR at this magical surgery, and the hair is back in his scrub cap, and he is proclaiming it a beautiful day to save lives, which is kind of his thing. We've got a glorious montage coming in of Izzy looking anxious about waking up Bailey, breaking, I think it's like rule number 4. We have George being introspective about almost killing that guy in the appendectomy surgery, and we've got Derek and Meredith making goo-goo eyes at each other over Katie Bryce's anesthetized body. So pretty good montage. We've got some good soft rock playing. Pretty good, like 2/3 of the way, Grey's Anatomy type shit. Hour 48 arrives, which is the end of the interns' first shift together. Christina has magically decided to get over Meredith's betrayal, and Christina just sits down next to Meredith, who is exhausted after her long aneurysm surgery with Derek, and Christina goes, we don't have to do that thing where I say something and you say something and then somebody cries and there's like a moment, and Meredith is like totally in agreement, does not want to do the emotional shit, and Christina tells Meredith to get some sleep because she looks like crap, and she walks away. Friendship. Meredith is still sitting there outside the OR, just kind of like looking tired, and Derek walks up and he's like writing in his little chart thingy. And Meredith and Derek share this really nice moment where Meredith realizes how great cutting people open is. And like, I mean, that's not really my thing, but it's nice to see them share interests, it's the foundation of any great relationship. We're nearing the end of our very first episode. We have another montage of a very rainy Seattle, and cut to Meredith in a nursing home. This is our final scene. And so Meredith has been narrating this whole time, and it turns out she's just been telling this story to none other than her very famous mother, Ellis Gray, who doesn't recognize her and clearly is like not mentally stable and has some limitations. Meredith is all choked up about it, trying to tell her about her day, wanting her mom to be proud of her because look, she's a totally brilliant and successful surgeon and doctor just like she was. And her mother can't even remember Meredith. She doesn't recognize her at all, and Meredith is really sad. Then that's really the end of the episode. We see Meredith like telling her mom this story, and like fade to black. End of episode 1 of Grey's Anatomy. So all in all, I think it's honestly a very, very good start to the series, and it's kind of cool to go back and see where the show started and where it is now. It's obviously a very different show today than it was 16 years ago, but a really solid first episode of TV if you ask me. We've established friendships, we've met our main characters. Meredith has started to establish that she's like a whole ass mess, but she's our mess, you know? She's our mess. Personally, I find it really hard to root for this early version of Meredith, and I often have a hard time rooting for her in general because I feel like she just kind of is a little bit selfish and wrapped up in her own problems. And so I found it even hard in this episode to really root for her because, you know, she spent the most of the time kind of being rude to Derek when she was kicking him out of the house and was like, I don't care about your name. And then she was kind of rude to Christina when she was working with Christina, and she didn't hold up her end of the bargain there either. It's just, she makes it really hard to root for her at times, frankly, but it's still really cool to go back and see where this character started because I do think that she did go through, you know, a lot of growth. Oh my gosh. This eye look is just horrific. Horrific. It is not going at all the way that I thought it would. Okay, so I just went off camera and tried to fix the eyes, and honestly, this is absolutely 0% how I thought they would turn out, but we're just going to go with it, honestly. I'm gonna highlight. So yeah, I have been enjoying rewatching Grey's Anatomy. I think it's been a lot of fun, especially seeing as this is something that I have literally been watching since I was a teenager. There's not many things that I still like from when I was like 15, 16 years old. So, you know, it's just fun to look back at these stories. All right, that is the finished look, and honestly, it didn't turn out anything like I thought it would. Honestly, I just had fun sitting here and talking about Grey's Anatomy and telling you guys a story. If this is something that you enjoyed and you want to see more of these videos, please leave me a thumbs up down below. It definitely helps my channel and helps other people to find these videos, and it also gives me great feedback if this is content that you enjoy. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!